Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Luke here, and today I am going to be doing another review of one of Peztio's newest dash cams. Now, what's so great about this dash cam is it actually serves a dual purpose. It not only has a front-facing camera like every other dash cam, but it actually comes with a rear-facing camera which can double as a backup camera. Now that's pretty cool. So it comes with a wire. You can actually tap into your reverse light to trigger it, or you can just simply push a button on the actual camera itself and it will switch between a few different picture-in-picture modes, or just displaying the rear camera all by itself. I think that's really cool. Now, the other thing that is really cool is at first you're thinking, well, is it just going to record the picture-in-picture, or how do I get the main picture out of the rear camera if something happens? Well, the great thing that this company did with the camera is they actually split the front camera and the rear camera input into two separate files, which I think that's brilliant. I was hoping they were going to do that, and they did. So basically what that means is when you are recording on this camera, everything that's coming out of the front camera is going to be on a separate file on the SD card, and then everything that is on the rear camera is going to be on a separate file on the SD card. So you're going to get full quality on both cameras at the same time all the time, which is great. What you're seeing at the view screen up front is just how you want to view it live. So you can have a little tiny picture-in-picture in the upper left-hand corner, you can have a split screen, or you can have just the front or the rear. And we're going to go into that here on the detailed review here in just a second, so let's get right into it.
Okay, so here we have the box. I'm just going to take it out and kind of show you what's inside. What's interesting about this one is it just kind of looks like a little still camera, which is interesting. Peel that off. Oh, if I can get it. Nice big screen on the back. Let's see what it comes with. So it looks like you've got your DC charger here. And it is mini USB, just like the other Peztio that I reviewed. A little suction cup mount, what's handy. Looks like it has a little 360 swivel on it. Well, almost 360. And we have what looks like the rear camera. Okay, yep, there's a little rear camera. It's nice they have a spot to disconnect whenever you go to wire this up, because that's one of the things that's nice to have. And I'll get into all, how all this hooks up in just a little bit. It looks like a adhesive mount for the camera, in case you don't want to actually bolt it in. Yep. It's just kind of like a review your purchase card, or thank you for ordering. Little warranty card. There's their information there. Quick start guide. And then of course the user manual. What I'll do now is go through the actual camera itself and some of the features on it. Alright guys, so I've actually turned down the exposure a little bit just so you can see the screen better. But I'll show you these side buttons real quick. There's 5 of them. And you've got the home, down, OK, up, and mode button on the side. And you've also got the USB port and the plug-in for the rear camera up top. There's LED lights there as well. So what you're seeing here on the main picture, I'm actually going to turn it down just a little bit more. So what you're seeing here on the main screen is, and just keep in mind it's not touchscreen, even though it is a big screen. It is not touch. You have to use all these buttons on the side, which is no big deal because you don't really mess with them that much. What you're seeing here is actually the reverse cam plug-in in the overlay, and then this is the front cam on the other side. So that's actually really neat, and I've got the camera over here, the rear camera looking at me over here. And if you use the up button, you can actually cycle through a couple different modes. So you can have like a split screen, or just look at the reverse camera, or the front camera, or the reverse in the upper left hand corner. I think that's really cool. And something else that I just verified, when you have the SD card in and it's recording, it does actually record a totally separate video for the front camera and the reverse camera. I think that's great. Even with that little feature right there, I think I'll be using this camera over the camera that I purchased and researched over 6 months ago, before Peztio contacted me. I think this is a really cool idea. That way you can have the reverse camera and the front camera view on an SD card. I mean, that's how much better can you get there? Okay, so I'm going to start real quick with the mode button, and that's right at the top. That cycles you through video mode, still camera mode, and then playback mode. Not really going to get into the still camera much. It's pretty straightforward and nobody really uses it a whole lot. So I'm going to go down to the home button, which is basically like the menu button in a sense. And you'll see the menu options here. Resolution is going to be the first one. I don't really know why you'd want to switch it from 720p to VGA, which is even lower. Because it's just going to erase whatever you don't use, so it's not like you really have to. I mean, unless you absolutely want like the longest recording time possible, which you could always just buy a bigger SD card instead of lowering the resolution. I think it's best to just keep it at the highest resolution for dash cams, because whenever you have to zoom into a license plate or something like that, I mean, you want that at the highest resolution possible. Alright, then we go down to loop recording, and basically this is how many minutes the files are sectioned off into. So basically you'll have every 1 minute is a section or a file on the SD card, or if you just wanted to record 2, 3, or 5 minutes, 5-minute sections, and then they separate the files on the SD card. Why dynamic range? I just leave it on. That is basically going to give a little bit better picture quality, makes the lights, if an image is overexposed or underexposed because of like bright lights in the background, it tries to adjust for that. So might as well just leave that on. Exposure, not really sure why you'd mess with that too much, because of course it's an auto exposure, but if you tend to find that you're just in a really, really bright area and you need to turn the exposure down a little bit, you can go in there and adjust that. Motion detection is going to be basically if you leave the item on, like if you hardwire it, it'll detect if someone walks by it to try to get them, messing around with the car or something like that. And of course, whether or not you wanted to record audio, of course, probably just leave that on. Date stamp, pretty straightforward. Whether you want the date stamp on or off, probably a good thing for a dash cam. Gravity sensing is the G sensor and how sensitive the G sensor is. So basically if you get in an accident or something hits the car violently, it triggers the recording of the camera if it is not already recording. And I'm pretty sure it locks that footage as well whenever that mode has been activated. This is just the sensitivity of that G sensor. The parking guard, it's real similar to the motion detection. It's gonna basically, if it detects motion or a G shock whenever the car is not moving, or you've got it hardwired, then it's gonna start recording again. I couldn't really find any major difference between the two in the user manual. Car number is actually just your plate. So if you want your plate to be stamped into the footage as well, for legal purposes, then you can do that. Fill light, this camera actually has a light on the front of it, which, you know, obviously isn't going to extend out to the front of the car, but, you know, if you, I don't know, pop it off the mount and want to get someone's license plate or something, you can just use this if you didn't have your cell phone available, and it does have a light on it. Alright, so if you hit the home button again, that's going to bring you to the settings function. Now LCD brightness is actually slightly misleading there. It's not the brightness of the LCD, it's how long you want it to stay bright once the car is turned on or the recording is started. So if you just want to see it for a little bit, I think it stays on for less than 10 seconds or something like that. But then if you want to extend that a little bit, you can do that there. Auto power off, pretty straightforward. You know, how long do you want it to stay recording once you shut off the car if you have it hardwired, or you know, just disconnect the power source. So naturally, I think it was about 10 seconds is when it shut itself off after I turned my key off. But if you want to extend that, you know, get yourself walking up to your driveway or, you know, whatever, you can just extend that a little bit there. Frequency is actually the frame rate of the video, so 50 hertz or 60 hertz. 60 hertz is a little bit more, I would say, standard. It's just going to give you more of a like a smoother image, but it's just going to take up a little bit more memory on your card, but that doesn't really matter because it just erases everything anyway. So the beep sound, I've already taken that off because it's kind of annoying. It just basically beeps every single time you touch one of these buttons, so I already turned that off for the demo, so you guys wouldn't have to suffer through that. Language, yeah, pretty straightforward. Just pick the language you want. Date and time, this is actually where you go in and just set the date and time. Pretty straightforward. Up and down, and then OK to select what it is. Format is actually just formatting the SD card, so that formatting erases everything on the SD card in one shot. Default setting is actually resetting all of these settings to what they came with out of the box. And then this just tells you the version in case there's ever a firmware update. And that's basically it for the settings menu. Just to give you an idea on what the icons on the screen actually mean. That's your resolution. You can see WDR here at the top, which is your wide dynamic range. This is your timer on the video that's actually recording, but it's not recording right now. But if you wanted to manually do it, I could hit the OK button and that would start the video. But I don't have an SD card in. This actually tells you whether or not you have an SD card in. And then this is the date, which I have not set, and this is the time. This tells you that your audio is on, that you do have it set to record audio. That's your exposure adjustment. Right now it's at 0. The number 2 there, if you can see it, that means that that's the sectioning off everything in 2-minute intervals. So if you change that to 5, it'll be a little 5. And then that's just the video mode that you're in, or I'll say mode that you're in. So again, if we push this little M button, that changes your mode. So now you can see you're in camera mode. You'll get a few more options there, similar to cameras: auto white balance, auto ISO, and then this is an anti-shake symbol there, the megapixels. And then if you push it one more time, this is the play mode. Now I don't have an SD card in here, so it's not showing anything, but if I did, it would show me the files and I could start playing them and reviewing them on the screen. Push it one more time and it gets you back to live view. So that's the general gist of the menu system of this new Peztio camera. And I'm going to go into the actual footage. I'm going to get some daytime mode and some nighttime footage as well. So we'll skip over to that now. Okay, so as you can see here, the picture quality looks good. Certain situations it can look a little overexposed, like the road there, you don't see much detail. The camera does take a minute and it'll finally catch up. You know, you do have that exposure adjustment, so if you're only going one direction and it's right into the sun, sure, you can lower that down a little bit, but for the most part the camera will catch up eventually. Here in just a second you'll see it right there. So now everything looks more even, so if you just give the camera a minute, it'll just fix itself. The license plate here is real clear. I'll zoom in and give you a picture of it. As you can see, very clear, so that's exactly what you're going to want on a dash cam, and as you can see here, it's pretty good. You will get some reflection sometimes, as you can see in my dash, if you've got a lot going on your dashboard, so just be careful about that. Here, this is a dark street, and there is no street lights except for this one right up here. So this is basically being lit by my headlights. So you're going to get a little bit more noise at night, which is typical of dash cams. But you can definitely still see what's going on, so that's what matters. I'm going to pull out here onto the highway, and you can see with the street lights it's a little better. You get a lot more of the road. You've got other cars with their headlights on, so you can see what's going on, but there's still some noise. Now we're going to pull into a grocery store parking lot. Everything's a lot more lit up, so you can see the noise has gone away quite a bit. So overall, pretty darn good quality.
Testing audio. Plate B106ID. It's a gray Lincoln Aviator.
Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed the review of Peztio's new dash camera. I think for the price tag, this is really hard to beat. I think they've got it for under $60 right now on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description for you to go ahead and get your own if you would. If you've got any questions, obviously leave them in the comments below. I think this is a great deal for the price. It's hard to find just a backup camera, let alone a dash camera and a backup camera and one that records both at the same time. So I think this is a fantastic deal. I'm probably actually going to start using this one instead of a camera I bought back before Peztio even contacted me, because I'm so impressed on how this one works. So guys, if you have any questions, again, leave them in the comments. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you on the next one. You guys have a good day.